Well, there we go.
Oh, okay,
Episode
cool.
1. Thanks for joining, Patty.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me in.
I'll sneak a little fist bump in through here.
All right. The Lysol 5 is
The Lysol
back
5.
again.
Well, okay, that's the main thing I want to get into, like to start anyways, for you as a trainer, as a weightlifter. Because like now, gyms are starting to open back up, officially or unofficially. And I know like the main gyms like Good Lives and things like that, like the big branch gyms, they're opening back up on the 29th. I know they have some restrictions, but it seems like things are starting to get back to normal.
Mm-hmm.
My style of training is very different from that of a weightlifter.
Yes.
So there's less of a gap for somebody who's, let's say, gymnastics or movement based or even calisthenics based, getting back into a routine. It's a very different approach than somebody who's lifting weights.
Yes. But like, let's say you do calisthenics or like move, like when you used to move in a park, like now can you go move in a park? I feel like the training of like someone who's doing it like more like calisthenically or like a bit more moving purpose, I think it's way weirder for them. Because I had the reflection the other day.
Oh, okay.
Because like you had like those like fitness gym parks or whatever, those fitness parks.
Yeah, like where they have like the bars and stuff set up there. Like, okay.
Like there's a lot of like weird stuff that's gonna happen to like barbells and plates and gym itself.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's weirder than if you're a mover. Because like
could be. Like in the sense that you feel like they're restricted because like all these parks and like public places are
has been
shut
closed
down.
And then like there's like wherever you are in the world, like you don't know what's happening in that place for like the 24 hour.
That's fair.
Sorry, man, I went on that tangent.
No,
like I was thinking about it the other day.
That's cool. I like it, but you kind of have a point because it's like when you go back into the gym is going to have a set of rules.
Yeah.
Where it's like this many people, we're going to have cleaning here, here, and here. Wipe this down before, after use. Regular. Which like, let's be real. Like if you were taking care of your shit, that's what you should have been doing beforehand. Like it's like the fact that people are like upset that they're like, I'm going to have to clean my sweaty ass off of this bench. It's like, yeah, you should have done that at the start. But like, I'm glad that at least now it's like,
it's a new
mandatory, I guess, if you want to call it that. But I guess like with parks and stuff, it's like, I think there's just, because there isn't like clear guidelines on anything, it's hard to figure out what the new normal is. Like, can you go to a park right now? Is it just for kids? What if you want to work out at a park? Like, am I allowed to like grab a set of monkey bars and do a set of chin-ups? Or am I like potentially infecting like half the population of Sudbury? Like, I don't know.
And that's weird. Like you look at like, so Sudbury, like to my knowledge, all right, like parks are like, they're not as popular than,
that's the other thing,
right? They're not as popular. So like, okay, there's less people that here in Sudbury than in Toronto.
Yeah.
So like, okay, cool. So then you know that like community people that aren't going to parks as much. So fair, like you're a bit safer, but like if you're like in Toronto per se, can you go to a park because like there's no backyards.
Yeah.
So people are going to parks. So
because they have no other options, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And like for barbells, for the clang and bang yang, like okay, so Ford announced like if you're part of like provincial or national sport, you're allowed to be back in. Cool, great. Now like weightlifting clubs, gyms that has provincial, national level athletes are able to reopen.
Yeah,
that's fantastic. The thing is, like now,
general population doesn't.
Exactly, and like
be athletes, people.
Well, like you have a body, you're an athlete.
Yeah.
One, but like stop sitting on your couch all the time. Like you got to understand, like folks need to move, and if you're not empowering like the whole community or society to like getting back in the gym, like, oh yeah, cool, go back in the gym, bring us back medals.
Yeah.
Okay, we don't have any Olympics till next year.
Yeah. And even with that too, I think now you're gonna see it more than ever, like how important people living healthy lives is going to be a huge factor.
Yeah.
Because like I don't think anyone can deny that like when something like this happens, and it seems from what we've seen so far, it seems like the people that are most at risk of having the real bad, a real case of this or potentially death are people that are already immune compromised.
Yeah.
So it makes it almost that much more important to have to take care of yourselves, but which they make it very, very difficult when, like you said, parks are closed off. You're not allowed to have people to kind of like really come into your gyms. Gyms are starting to open back up, but there's so many restrictions that it's like, I think all those restrictions are also going to like deter people from wanting to get back into some kind of routine. So you're going to have a lot of people that are just going to be like doing like those like 7-minute like YouTube workouts, which is like better than nothing. But realistically, is that really going to be enough to actually make somebody healthy? Right. I'm going to go ahead and assume probably fucking not. Like, like that's like
I love how like I had a big problem. Like I did the P90X before and like those
didn't we all?
beach body like workouts, great, wonderful workouts. But like those workouts are just getting you likes on Instagram or Facebook or whatever. Like they give you that transformation for 90 days.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Bravo. But then if you're like want to stay healthy for the rest of your life,
there's no education to it.
There's no fucking education. There's Tony Horton saying, "Oh, good job. Keep that position." And then you're in front of your TV and you're like, "Fuck you, Tony. Do the reps, homie." Cuz like you're just sweating your balls off and you're like, "Oh man, like why you're taking a break? Like I'm working out here. I want to do a workout." Right? Those are great, but like they're not sustainable forever.
Yeah, that's
right. And like when you go to a gym, you have either a training log, from a training log to a coach trainer that's gonna like quantify your success and measure the information and the numbers you're putting out.
Yeah.
But if you're just like doing those like YouTube videos, oh great workout, good job, but like it's not sustainable. You're not actually getting strong.
You're almost at that point, it's almost just like building up a skill. You're just becoming like skillful at the series of exercises that those videos are making you do.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So there's a hard plateau on that.
Like the plateau is after 3 weeks. That's it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Like, cool. And then us that we love moving, we love being stronger. We're just gonna take those people and we're like, okay, set aside, let me show you what is to live.
Yeah. And I think like with that, like whenever somebody's going to take those videos and just like repeat them over and over again, like you said, like at first it's great. And like, I think when this quarantine started, it was a great way for people to kind of get back in. But the other thing that I've noticed with like a lot of my clients is like, the reality is like when people do those workouts, 80% of the population do not push themselves and do not really give it full effort or full undivided attention when they're doing those workouts. So it's like you did a 7-minute workout, but for 3 of those minutes, you had your kid jumping on your head, or you had like a dog who like you needed to like let outside. So it ate up like a minute, 2 minutes of your workout. So it's like you did a 7-minute workout video. Maybe you did it like 3 times, but were you really actually concentrating and actually really giving it like full effort the entire time? Most people no. Right. And you notice it because like we just did like we did 2 outdoor workouts in the past, like within the past couple of days.
So shout out for surviving the pandemic and then being back up.
Exactly. So, it was great. And it was like amazing to see people again. But it was hilarious at the same time. It's like I did like not a basic workout, but we did some basic locomotion, single leg jumping and kind of explosiveness work, which we have been doing over the past 3 months with my online classes. And people died. And the big difference that people mentioned was that like, yeah, but like I don't have you standing there looking at me in my living room, so I don't really always have to do it. And that's the thing is like these online programs are great, but most people don't have that like inner motivation and that inner like drive to do it, especially when you have all these distractions like your kids are like, you know, pretending to do homework.
They don't have the accountability either.
Exactly.
Like when you go at the gym, and we talked several times like around that, like about it during like instant like those IGTV lives or whatever it was. Like there's not an accountability mirror or like the trainer that you're paying and be like, hey homie, you suck right now. Like that's gonna tell you that. Like, okay, so for like the first 6 weeks of quarantine I was running. Cool, great. But like I was me versus me, and I could go on a small little run and get my hour of fitness in. Great.
And you're like, nailed it.
I did it. Good job, Pat. Give yourself a star.
Yeah. Then you go to like Dairy Queen and like pick up some ice cream.
Oh, yeah.
I earned it.
100%. That's what I did. But then, okay, cool. Got a barbell back. I was still like doing online programming. Like I got a coach that programs online for me because he's in Ottawa. Shout out Spencer Mormon. Oh.
There we go.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
But yeah, so you have your coach.
So I have a coach online that says, okay, but like now that we're going back to and we're having a bit more like consistent training because I'm able to be in the gym, he's like, I want videos, I want numbers, I want to see numbers. Because like
quantify it,
and I don't want you to be dog shit at it.
That's fair. I like him. Because him already.
No, he's a great dude.
Yeah.
But like it's the fact of like, okay, well, now I have accountability not only to myself, but to someone else. So like if I don't want to be like a shitty athlete, because I'm already like, fuck, now I gotta like can't lie anymore. Can't get away with it. Now I gotta talk. And the beauty about having someone in front of you They're just like, oh, did you do this?
Yeah.
Oh, no. Well, like, it's like for me with like clients, like as a massage therapist, hey, did you do your stretches? Did you do your exercise? No. Well, like that's.
And then you can tell as soon as you get on the table.
Yeah, and you're like, okay, cool. I'm gonna press in your psoas, and you're like, the patient's like, oh god. Well, hey, homie, if you did your exercise, if you did your stretches, you moved, it shouldn't be that tight. So, but it's the accountability mirror. Like, I think it's neat that you're back on the turf with people, and you're like, okay, that's why we did that.
Yeah.
Because locomotion is very important.
Yeah.
Because you still got to walk from your couch to your table, from your table to your fridge, and vice versa throughout the day. And if you can't do it properly or a higher intensity, how can you do it like at a normal speed in a day?
And how can you expect to be able to keep doing it over a long period of time without getting hurt or without like progressively just building bad habits? And then that's usually like for you as a massage therapist or any type of therapist, like most people deal with chronic injuries because people let shit go until it becomes a problem. Right? And you see it when you have like with this accountability, it's like, oh, I did my workout, pat on the back, I did it. And it's just like, no, you didn't. And you know you did. But like, we're really good at lying to ourselves and telling ourselves that like, oh, I did it. I earned it. And like, I was guilty of that for like years with my own training, man. Cause like I've worked out alone for a very long time and I enjoy it because that's kind of like my way of kind of like, that's how I kind of like decompress. It's like, that's like my, like, I don't know, some people collect stamps and shit.
I turn alone.
Yeah, I turn alone. That's like, you know what I mean? Like I do a lot of things alone. Okay? Like I don't know. I don't want to be judged for it. But like
I like to be alone.
Right? I like being really like being alone a lot. Okay, but that's my thing. But even with me, it's like sometimes I had to be really honest with myself, and I had to be like, am I seeing the results that I want to see, or am I seeing the results that I feel I should be seeing? Because I'm a trainer, so I know how this shit should go, and I know I know it works for other people because I've seen it work with a bunch of my clients, but I'm like, why the fuck am I not seeing it with myself? And then eventually you kind of stop and it's like, maybe a couple mushrooms deep. And I'm like, I don't think I'm really being real with myself. I think I got to like step my own shit up and I got to listen to myself. And like, I think a hard part too is like you have an athlete brain and a trainer brain or like a therapist brain in your case. Then it's like, sometimes it's really, really easy to just listen to that like athlete brain and just like turn off and go and just like you get into that rut and into that routine of like, I'm just going to do my workout. But then when you have like that more kind of science-based part of your body or a part of your brain that's saying like, well, this isn't really the best way to do this. And if I really want to get stronger, I should be doing it this way instead of this way. And like for me, one of the main issues is I was constantly, almost on a daily basis, testing my strength as opposed to building my strength. So it was like I was doing the equivalent of like calisthenics 1-rep maxes every day. And my nervous system was shot, dude. And I got nowhere with it. I actually regressed. I got shittier at things I was already shitty at. And that's a horrible feeling.
Oh, wow.
But being accountable, and it took me years to be accountable with myself. And I had a facility and I had all the equipment and all the knowledge in the world to be able to access it. And that was myself. So I can't imagine for people that are stuck at home and already like, with whatever other stress you have going on in your life right now, trying to be accountable for yourself is ridiculously challenging. So having the opportunity to be able to get back is great, especially if you're an athlete. But that general population that like we talked about, like they don't have access to the gym at their full capacity like they did before, or they might not have the financial like stability to be able to go back to see a trainer on a regular basis. Like we need to figure out a way as a community to be able to like reach out and help those people in some way so that there is a level of accountability so that like they can get those realizations and those oh shit moments of like, okay, I've been slacking, I need to get back. And sometimes it takes a rude slap in the face to like realize that you've been slacking hard.
Well, like the thing is, like oftentimes, like you look at first and foremost, like strength is super important.
Yeah.
Right. Like so, the fact of like specificity is really hard for people to understand. Right. Preach. So I'm gonna can I swear on this podcast?
Absolutely. I already did a couple times.
Okay, cool. So I dropped that quote this week, but like you're not getting better at fucking by getting your dick sucked. Yeah. Right?
Which is so, and I've died, but you're not wrong.
Or like it could be vice versa for the women genitalia also.
Yeah.
I'm like
power to you ladies.
Power to you ladies. But
make
like
a man work.
But like it's super important to understand like, hey, doing your workouts, you need some sort of accountability, and building your strength is super important instead of like testing out and going full beef every time. Like it's and the point I want to bring, it's super important that like even though you got a trainer, even though you're doing just classes at a studio or a gym, great, cool, but you go in and you go out.
Showing up isn't enough.
Exactly, you got to write down your shit.
Yeah.
Right, like you know that famous quote, like, oh, you live and you learn, but you only learn if you reflect on the situation, right? So for years, like same for me, like I was not writing down my workouts. I was going in and out, and I was like, okay, cool, I did it, tap on my back, move on, go tomorrow.
Move on.
But since I've started writing my shit down and be accountable to the numbers I need to hit, like it's so much easier to see progression all the time, and or like understand the value of what I'm doing.
Very nice.
Because so like that could be one thing. Like for clients now, like I think it's going to be very important that people understand like the value of stuff. So not only the value of the training, the cues, but the training, the workout itself. Because like, okay, so you show up, you had so like financially speaking, let's say you have only access to 1 month of personal training or like online programming,
or whatever it is. Right.
Buy yourself a binder,
make the most
write all the workouts you've did. Then if you stop doing those workouts after that month of personal training, you start doing something else, fine. But you still have that log of those workouts you could go revisit all the time. Right? I'm just drawing.
No, that's good.
Guys, you gotta listen to this. But like it's
Daddy B dropping some knowledge.
Boom, boom, boom. You know, like it's super important that people understand. Like, because okay, if you want to get stronger, better, or fitter, whatever it is, if you want to stay like durable as an athlete, as a human being, and be able to play with your grandkids when you're old and crippled, like you have a choice to make right now.
Yeah.
Do you want to understand what you got to do and value the lessons you're learning on a day-to-day basis? Or you just want to roll with the punches and see where the wave takes you? Like I've been digging into surfing a lot lately, like because I think it's cool.
Yeah.
It's a great skill, but like you look surfers or the history of surfing, like they're waiting for the perfect wave. They don't want to waste energy on like a shitty wave, right?
I see. I kind of think I think I see where you're going with this.
So like if you're always hitting a wave, you're just wasting energy because you got to swim back to the point you were. So like let's say for yourself, if you're always hitting maximal reps,
strength test
all the time. If like for me, like if let's say I hit a back squat, I go max out sets all the time. I'm just going to be drained all the time because of the work I've been doing.
So you're constantly chasing the wave instead of actually catching the one that's
exactly right. And that's super important. We understand like catching the wave is more valuable, or it's like part of the process instead of like chasing the process. You got to trust the process.
Yeah. And that's extremely frustrating. And like, you know, I can contest to this myself.
Because like I did the same mistake as you did.
I was stuck in a rut, man. Like I don't want to say rut because it's like I was still working out 7 days a week. I was still eating as well as I could within my schedule, which usually like, you know, if anything, I probably needed to eat more, but I was still eating healthy. I was still eating well. But it was like on paper, it's like I'm looking at it and I'm like, fuck, I'm hitting all the shit that I should be hitting. Like I'm eating, you know, I could probably sleep a little bit better. That's probably true, right? But it was like in terms of like my training and like diet, the main aspects, I was like, I should be getting better at this shit. I should be seeing some kind of benefit. But it's like it takes a while, and it took me a while because again, like I train by myself, but I also train in a facility where when there's nobody else around, I don't have a coach. I was never taught how to do these calisthenic skills or how to do like, you know, aerial flips or tricks. Like I taught myself, which is like good in a way because I've made a lot of mistakes that have helped me become a better trainer or a better, you know, I can teach better now because I've made every mistake you can possibly make. So I can recognize them a little bit better. So I think that's one of my stronger skills as a trainer is like I can recognize mistakes because I've probably done them all. But at the same time, it's extremely frustrating when you're an athlete and when that athlete parts of your brain kicks in and goes like, I want to be the best. I want to be great. I want to be amazing. And then I'm like, I'm still nowhere near that level. So you chase those results, right? You start chasing the results where it's just like, keep forcing it, work every day. Oh, that didn't work? Go for 3 hours this time, go for 4 hours. Like keep chasing that result, but never actually pay attention to the process and how is like right now in this workout, what am I doing right? What am I doing wrong? And what do I need to improve on that's actually going to help me get to that goal as opposed to just try to get the goal. Oh, I failed. Try to get the goal. Oh, I failed. And that's like, it's huge, man. But it's accountability in the opposite sense. I was almost like, too accountable of the goal, not accountable of my actual process. Whereas I think right now, a lot of people are facing, they're just not accountable of their process where they're checking in, checking out with maybe no real goal in this, like in the end set. Cause it's just like, I'm just got to stay healthy, get through this COVID shit. And it's like, no, you still need those goals. You still need that. You still need to check in and make sure that what you're doing now is actually helping you get there.
And like, if you're going off routine, that's fine. Like who cares about that? We're not like, I love what you're saying. Like you still got to be purposefully aware of what you're doing, right? Have you heard about the 10,000 hours?
Yeah, I've heard of it. Yeah,
10,000
like
hours
skill
to be
acquisition.
of mastery or whatever. Like purpose practice. That's what it is. If you go in and hit 100 balls, great, good job, you hit 100 balls. But I could go hit like 25, great ball, great routine, and then that's it. That's all.
Yeah,
the task is completed. The skill is acquired to some sort of degree.
Yeah,
but you got better at understanding. Like, okay, I got only 25 balls. That's what I got to do.
Yeah,
like fair example. Like, but the thing is, like, we're only stuck on expectation.
Mm-hmm. But it's just easy with social media now, though, because all you're seeing is expectations. You rarely see process.
Exactly, right? Like, so, for example, for myself, lost 25 pounds during the quarantine. And then the Ontario Weightlifting Association had a logged on lift-off. Wonderful to get the community together. But then, I'm not the same lifter as I was 25 pounds heavier.
But you look shredded, though.
I look shredded. Let's just say I look good in my Speedo now.
I'm just going to say, I'm going to throw it out there. You were walking in today, and I was like, damn, look at those straps. This guy's been running.
Oh, that jawline?
Yeah, I was like, damn.
You're not a snowman anymore already?
No, it's good. But I met you when you were like, probably at one of your heaviest for your competitions. Like, you were a big boy when I met you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, it's crazy.
But like, it's, okay, cool. I didn't have access to a barbell for 3 months. Okay, cool. What I can do to be part of the process, because the process is to be the best weightlifter I can be. Mm-hmm. Okay, cool, great. So that's the goal. That's a goal for the next 5-7 years that I keep lifting or whatever competitively. But like, if I don't take part of the process and okay, if I want to be the best, I got to lose weight because I can't compete against a guy who's 6'5", 300 pounds.
I mean, you can. This is probably not a very good idea.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm gonna be like in trouble. Like, I gotta be, gotta get that special breakfast in probably to have a chance.
A couple little juicy vitamins.
Yeah, that synthetic stuff. Yeah. Then you get at the mechanic store, like Canadian Tire, got that synthetic oil.
We got to talk about that after. Keep going, but I'm gonna bring that up again.
I mean, like, it's super important that we understand. Like, so for me, I was like, okay, well, you don't have access to a barbell. What can you do for the process? Okay, cool. Lose weight. Because now you're not stuck about lifting weights and numbers. Yeah. Now you got to decrease your number. Okay, cool. Now went back to the gym for the competition. Right on the board, 127, 127 snatch, 160 clean and jerk. Those are numbers I didn't hit in 4 months. And I'm 25 pounds lighter, and I still want to hit that. I created myself an expectation for that. Didn't trust the process on this one. I was just like,
just went for it.
Just went for it. Lifting went like shit. I was disappointed at myself, but it's because I had an expectation. Yeah. If I want to create accountability and awareness to my lifting, I got to be aware that like change is going to happen. And if I'm not aware of that, and I take care of only the athlete's brain, like we're talking, and like, okay, cool,
just go in and go.
Shut down, tunnel vision, full beef mode activated. It's not going to work. Yeah. Like, I came back, I finished that session, didn't hit those numbers. Lifting was shaky all the time. But then I was just like, okay, well, let's redo the snatching portion of it just to be more aware and be accountable to the lift and the movement.
Nice.
End up, I was more accountable. I'd lift 1 kilo heavier than I did at the gym, but I had that reflection and like live, learn, and reflect. Yeah. Yeah. That was pretty much my story on this one.
No, but that's good. But I like that because it's like, it's so easy to get caught up with results. And I think it's like, I think that's just part of being a person with ego because everyone has it, and whether your goal is like, even if your goal is just to look good, if that's the only reason you work out, and if that's the reason you fucking train, I don't give a shit, man.
Good for you.
Train for it. Go. Look as good as you can, man. Get that like V taper. Like, I don't give a shit. Do what you want to do.
Get those double taps on Instagram,
100%. Like, I ain't hating. But like, if that's your goal, it's really easy to look at a magazine or look at these guys that are like, all dehydrated and like jacked up on every type of vitamin and supplement and extra supplements that they could possibly find and then go, I don't look like that yet, so I must be off. I must be doing something wrong. And it's so easy, especially with social media, to just get caught up in that like end result and just be like, well, I must be not doing enough or I must be doing it wrong. And then I think when we get into that mindset is usually when we make the most mistakes because you're so caught up and you're so wrapped, like your head is so just like tunnel vision into that like end result that you're not reflecting on what you're actually doing. And I did that for years, man, but it was like the opposite. With me, it wasn't about necessarily how I looked. it was like, I accepted I was a short, bald guy a long time ago, man. Like, that's like, I got over it. You know, I'm cool with it. Like, but it was like, I still wanted to perform to a certain level. And I was like, why can I not hit these skills that I want to hit? Why can I not do the strength feats that I want to be able to do? And it was because I kept, like we talked about, I kept testing. I kept like, am I closer to that thing I saw on Instagram today than I was yesterday? Nope. Must be doing it wrong. Try it again. Oh, no, I failed. Instead of actually going like, where am I right now? Which is hard because like ego-wise, it's like, it's hard to admit to yourself that you still have a long journey. Right? It's easy to just be like, oh yeah, I can almost do that. Like, and you have that like weekend warrior mentality where you're just like, yeah, just give me like, oh, I just gotta limber up. I just gotta limber up and I'll be able to do it. And it's like, no, you that's not gonna help. Like
three jump squats, four jumping jacks, and I'm good.
Yeah, it's like it's gonna take more than limbering up, but like you have to build that process. And I think that also comes with specificity. Is like, what exact goals are you really trying to work towards? Like some of them can kind of intertwine. You know what I mean? Like if I'm working like for me like a straddle press, which is basically like sitting into a split. For anyone who doesn't know, it's like if I'm sitting in a split, I place my hands right on the inside of my thighs and I lift myself up, feet off the floor into a handstand.
Oh, that's cute.
Right? It's super cute. But balance is part of that. Shoulder strength, shoulder stability, core strength, but also the strength in my hip flexors and the flexibility in my, in my inner thigh and my hamstrings. That's all part of it. So if I wanted to say I'm going to work on my straddle press and I'm also going to work on my split, I can do the two at the same time because they coincide. They intertwine. Makes sense. But if I'm like, I'm going to work on my straddle press, but at the same time, I'm also going to work on trying to get my max deadlift up. It's like, well, that's going to be a hard go because like those are kind of two competing. And it's not that you can't do it. It's going to take a hell of a lot longer to get there. And you got to be real specific and real precise about what you're doing to actually get to that point. Yeah. It's doable, but you have to realize it's going to take longer. So if you're trying to get that skill tomorrow or within, 2-3 months, but you're also working on opposite skills, it's like, you got to realize that might not be doable or it might not be realistic in the time frame you're giving yourself.
Because time frame is super important, but like, okay, cool. Like there's core strength in both the deadlift and the straddle press, right?
Yeah.
But like the goal for the straddle press, if that's the main goal, it's
to look good.
To look good doing it, right? Have it perfect.
Look good naked. Yeah.
Look good doing it. Yeah. I practice that move in my apartment.
Yeah, it's strictly for showing off. But no, it's a feat. It's a skill. It's a feat of strength and a feat of flexibility and mobility. We'll say.
Yeah.
Right. Whereas a deadlift is power.
Yeah.
Right.
Pure power and strength.
Yeah.
And you can't get the same because like the tensile strength of your ligaments and tendons like gonna block yourself from being able to do a split.
It's gonna make it a lot harder. Yeah, for sure. Right. And anyone who's gonna do like, it's not that you can't be supple and you can't have flexibility or good range of motion if you're doing heavy weights, but it makes it that much harder to work at because you got to realize that you're going to be sore. If you're trying to do max deadlifts, like you're going to be sore. Your nervous system is going to be and fired up and it's going to tense up those muscles, which is going to make it way harder to try to get more limber at the same time.
And it's kind of hard to understand, like for people, like we're talking about two different skills on the spectrum.
Exactly.
Like deadlift is part of a strength feature.
Yeah.
Right. And the straddle press is part of like a mobility, flexibility, and stability component.
Yeah. Very technical.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. I don't see the correlation between those two skills together.
Yeah.
Like it's gonna be hard. Like, can you train strength while you practice the straddle press? 100%. But you got to be very careful with the exercise selection you got to do.
Exactly.
Because now we're talking about specificity to a higher level.
Yeah.
Like if someone would show up and say that, like, I want to do those two things, I'm like, okay, yeah, homie, pick one.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you want to work with me, you got to pick one because I know one of them.
Yeah.
I know how to get you to one of them, but the other one, sorry. Like two together, different story.
Yeah. And that's a problem too, is like people can have multiple goals at the same time, but you have to be able to kind of scale it back. And again, now this is just getting into like specificity, but like if I scale it back and I go, okay, this is like, I have 10 things I want to work on, and this is just to give it like a random number. But if I have 10 things I want to work towards, or 10 accomplishments that I have my mindset of like, I'm going to do these things, these feats of strength or flexibility or mobility, whatever it is, you can't train for all 10 of them all at the same time. Most people, unless you've got 6 to 8 hours a day where you can commit to just
you're
training.
Sponsored.
But most people aren't. So if you want to work on those 10 skills, it's not that you can't do it, but you're going to have to realize you might have to dedicate 3 to 6 months to maybe 3 of them.
Yeah.
Maybe 4. If they coincide or they intertwine with each other, maybe you can get 5 or 6, but they got to be real close together.
Yeah.
Because depending on how much time you have in a day to train, what your nutrition like, what kind of just what access do you have to the right equipment to be able to do these skills or these, these goals, depending on what your goals are, you got to be realistic and figure out that like, this is going to take more than just, if you got 10 goals in 1 year to do it, good luck. I know, because I did it for years. I was trying to get great at everything all at the same time, but I was just getting mediocre at nothing.
Oh, wow.
Right. Which sucks.
Well,
because then you sit back and you go, damn, I still suck. But I've been at this for 4 fucking years and I'm still shitty at it. Like, it's not a good feeling, right? But like, then as soon as you start like, okay, I still have all those goals. It's not like I'm putting any of them on a shelf and I'm just saying, forget these. I'm just going, I'm going to chase this one right now. Yeah. This is the one I'm going after right now. And when I get there, I'll keep it. I'll do enough to maintain it. I'll play around with it, but I'm going to focus on other things.
Yeah. Jack of all trades, master of none, basically.
Basically, but you can't train to be a jack of all trades all at the same time. Like, that comes with time. You know what I mean? Like, if you're a power lifter or a weightlifter or whatever, you can get really good at lifting weights. But if you also want to increase your mobility, it's doable, but you're going to have to realize you're going to have to invest some time. So if you only have a limited amount of time to do both your weightlifting and your mobility work, no, keep going. Where's that time going to come? You're going to have to sacrifice time of that weightlifting to work on that mobility then, right? Or some energy towards that, right? And that's like 2 goals that are fairly easy to work on at the same time in terms of like...
And they're just one super. Like,
you know what I mean? Like, I can, if I have better range of motion in my hips and my hamstrings, it's probably going to make my weightlifting a little bit better.
Yeah.
That makes sense, right? I'm not trying to do like a split or anything. I just want to have better hip mobility. It's doable. But if I only have an hour at the gym and I used to do an hour of weightlifting and now I got to do maybe 50 minutes and 10 minutes of mobility and rehab work because my hips are really tight, well, that means I'm doing 10 minutes less of weightlifting. So I might have to adjust my weightlifting goals or adjust my programming to make it fit that 50-minute time frame I have instead of the hour I used to have. Yeah. Right? And again, those are just very arbitrary numbers, but it's just a kind of...
Yeah, well, like, I feel like...
Give an idea.
I totally agree with that. Like, it's super important that we understand, like, for people, so for me as like a massage therapist trainer and a weightlifting athlete, yeah, which is like stuff I identify with,
yeah,
like I gotta understand, like, okay, there's a box for like everything that's got to be checked off for me to like complete a lift.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Mobility. Doing an overhead squat is gonna increase my mobility, but it's gonna also increase my strength if I put the significant load on it, right? So if I can understand, like, hey, like, I don't need to do that much mobility. So, like, for a weightlifter, you check that box. As soon as you got that box checked and you're able to complete those lifts, those are just something that you could revisit. Like,
yeah,
revisit once a week or
kind of check in, make sure it's good, and then move on.
Exactly, because like, sorry, I just want to say you're very pretty over there, Joe.
Just behind all the lights.
Oh
yeah, we got to give Joe a shout out. For anyone who's actually going to listen to this, just realize that like the amount of effort and work that Joe put into this has been like amazing. And as much as I would love for him to stay in Sudbury for the rest of his life, I also like follow your dreams, boo. You know, like you do you, because you're going places, kid.
You're going. And you got the knowledge. You got the brain for that. I love this. Yeah. But I was saying, like, sorry, but like, again, huge shout out to Joe. Oh man, absolutely pretty over there, dude.
Yeah, you sip that juice.
What type of oil is that in that juice? You know what I mean? But like, it's something you got to revisit. So like, it's identify yourself. Like, there's a big like thing with identity. Like, someone's gonna talk to you, oh, I'm a weightlifter, powerlifter, CrossFitter, whatever it is.
Put themselves in a category.
Yeah, fair, cool, good. But understand like the skill that you got to have in that category, and then if you're like, present for yourself, you still got to hold yourself to a standard of strength. Okay, cool, because you do a lot more calisthenics and flips and shit, and Joe does a bit more Muay Thai, but he has an understanding of like, hey, I got to revisit strength once in a while to have those check marks and those milestones completed. Because if I'm strong enough, so for yourself per se, like I'm just gonna shoot now.
Yeah. Oh, shoot me, bud.
So like you got calisthenics work, so you got a very important in like flexibility, stability, mobility. Cool. Those are the 3 most important things for you. To be able to like flip
for the skills,
like coordination,
strength and stuff. But like, we're
for the skill to accomplish the skill. Yeah. I'm just talking about skill right now. But like, so you still got to be able to press a significant amount of weight to hold yourself up. So you got to be able to press body weight at least, and then squat body weight, or you know what I mean. Like, it's very important. It's like I love that. I heard that somewhere, but I'm like, it's like if you pass 20 minutes of doing 20 minute to a 40 minute on a foam roller or mobility, like get the fuck out. Like, okay, it's great. It's going to get you all lumbered, but you lost 40 minutes of your training session. Like, as a weightlifter, for me, best way to warm up, get under a bar. Get your hands moving. You're going to grease the groove somehow.
Yeah.
Like, okay, cool. You could
Is that something you would do every day?
For me?
Even if you're not heavy lifting, just greasy grooves like that?
Oh, yeah. Well, like,
very nice.
All the time, like, okay, cool. Like, best way to warm up is do the task.
And
like, let's say for a front rack position, like where the front squat.
Mm-hmm.
Best way to do a front rack, just to strengthen your front rack position, pass time in the position. Okay, cool. Oh, I'm going to have the bar on my shoulders. Oh, okay, I'm going to have the bar on the back and then move my shoulders forward. Practice the skill, warmed up, then.
And that's something like for you, like you could do that every day.
Yeah.
And not risk of injury or risk like blowing a shoulder out just by practicing your positioning. Now, if you're forcing a position, that's different. But just practicing the position is 100% doable.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But like, I'm still going to do like some sort of like warming up skill.
Yeah.
Prior, but like, best way to warm up, I'm not going to pass 20 minutes on like a fucking foam roller and do some sort of aerobic conditioning prior. If I got to lift heavy,
it doesn't make sense for what you're trying to do.
Exactly, right? It's got to be, you got to understand, like, people don't understand that. Like, I love going to Good Life once in a month, like,
because I don't.
Pre-quarantine, I was going, like, once a month, or I was different commercial gym.
Just checking in.
Just checking
in.
It's
like going to Walmart.
Yeah. People watching, man. People watching. Like, you gotta keep those eyes sharp.
Yeah.
We're like, oh my God, your gait is off.
You're just going and just tearing people apart. That's not nice of you, Pat. I know you'd have good intentions, but I think some people would get mad if you just walked in Good Life and started correcting everyone's lifting form. Yeah.
Hey, can you keep your, you're allowed to put your knees in front of your toes when you squat.
Oh.
But like, I mean, like, okay, so first and foremost, there's a lack of education, and like people are gonna see, okay, cool, I'm gonna be passing 20 minutes on a foam roller before I'm training. Yeah. What the fuck that's gonna do for accomplishing the task?
Yep.
Like, number one, like you passing 40 minutes warming up, what more is gonna do?
Especially if it's just like
if you're lifting or doing whatever.
Soft tissue, like very gentle soft tissue persuasion at best.
Yeah. Activation. Even if activation, like what the fuck is that gonna do? Like I've seen so much people.
What are you activating for, bro?
Like, just get under the bar.
Yeah.
Get under the bar. Get moving. Okay, yeah, you got weakness there. Okay, cool. But like, you're wasting so much energy not being consistent at the task or practicing the task you got to do.
I think that's key too.
Huh?
Consistency is
consistency. Consistency is super important. But like, if you pass 20 minutes at practicing something else than the skill you got to do.
Yeah.
Let's say for me, like, I've seen so much, so fucking much people warming up way too much for like absolute. Yeah, well, I've seen a lot of people. It's like, okay, cool. Like, roll your feet, get a couple air squats in, get an empty bar, walk with a banner across your knees, like get your glutes activated some way, sort of form, get your core activated. Yeah. Go play.
And it depends on like where are your weak spots too. Like, what do you need to work on? Like, if you already have, like for you, with your front squat position, like if you have a good front squat position, revisit it, check in, make sure everything's fine. But if you don't need to actively make sure that you're really improving it, what are you spending half an hour doing shoulder mobility for if you're already in the spot that you need? Unless your goal is to have ridiculous shoulder mobility, it's not going to help you get that. It's not going to help you get to where you want to go. You're already good with that.
Check the bar.
For what your goals are and for where you are currently at, you don't need to invest all that time in that. Move on.
Yeah, check the box, move on. Yeah, because like, and then like, think about it pre-quarantine, like how much fast-paced life was. You own a studio, you teach classes, right?
Yeah.
People have 1 hour to train.
It's like Vin Diesel.
Yeah.
Just flying from building to building.
Basically.
That's what I felt like. That's what I compare myself to.
Yeah. Well, you have the bald hair.
Not very effectively, but that's what I compare myself to.
That's okay. You still have the bald hair.
Yeah, man.
You look alike.
I'm repping my bald people. I have been my whole life.
But like, it's so fast paced that people like get their warm up in, play, move, and then get strong and then sweat. Cool. Boxes check. We visit every features of fitness, functionality, and movement. You're good to go play life now.
Gotcha.
Because like, let's say you have a class, you have an hour and a half class. Great. Like, an hour and a half classes are phenomenal because like, you're going to have enough time for an extra set of squats or extra long warm up. Great. But like, if you take that like 1 hour class or an hour and a half class, and you like, let's say 1 hour class, but you pass 40 minutes warming up.
That class isn't an hour and a half anymore.
It's like, if people like, for myself, like I was getting it a lot while I was getting through massage school. Like people are paying for 1 hour massage. Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. You got to understand, like there's for like massage therapy, physio, or whatever the treatment is, there's still a warming up phase, which is me catching up with you and like, hey, how's your body doing since last treatment? Okay, we revisited that for the 10 minutes. Okay, cool. Hop on the table. Now we're gonna like do the treatment, or for you as a teacher of class coaching, we're gonna work.
Yeah.
Then you have a last 5 minutes to debrief and understand what the task was.
Yeah.
And if people pass 40 minutes, like you're just wasting your time. Go home, go play video games instead.
Yeah. Because you probably accomplish the same amount of work.
Yeah. It's like saying like, I had a lot of that. Like when I was pre-quarantine, I was working so much. Like I had 80 hours a week work. And people were like, oh man, I would love to like have your schedule, or like they were saying like, oh man, like it's too bad you don't have enough time in your schedule. I'm like, well, if I would have more time, I would just sit on my ass.
Yeah.
Now I'm like, since I got so much structure in my day, I know I got 1 hour and an hour and a half of training. I got to get it done.
Yeah.
And then get in, get out. Because like after that, it's like business, whatever it is.
I think for people too, like, I think there's a huge benefit when you actually start looking forward to your workout. Not just because you enjoy the workout, but when you're like busy and life is hectic and you got shit going on that you don't want to have to deal with, it's almost nice when you can be like, I'm actually excited I get to work on my squat today, or I get to, in your case, I'm going to do cleans today and I love doing my cleans. So like, I can't wait to actually just get that hour and a half, get in, do my work. But I think like if you don't have those goals, or if you don't have that thing that you're chasing, and again, like, don't just chase after it. But when you have that goal of like, this is what I'm working towards, and I understand why I'm doing what I'm doing now, I have a purpose for it. You almost start you start looking forward to it. And then it starts becoming like a part of your day where it's just like, when I get to go do that workout, and then I know that like, oh, I know I earned that one, and I know I got closer to where my goals really are. It's like, you can't wait for the next session then. Yeah. Right. And it's just like, and that's something where I think anyone from like an experienced lifter or an experienced like athlete to your average Joe can run into those same issues, because it's like, if we run out of those goals, or if you start, or if you're stuck in a program or stuck in a route where you're not seeing those benefits, you start to wonder like, well, why am I even doing this? Mm-hmm. Why am I even doing it? Like, why, I got an hour and a half to work out. I'm just going to do it. I'm not going to get any stronger. It's discouraging. Right. So it's like, that's when you have to switch it up. And that's when you have to really sit back and think like, why am I doing this? And is what I'm doing really helping me get there? Right. And if it's not, you got to switch it up, or you got to find a new way, or find somebody who understands more about it so that they can help you maybe figure out what those mistakes might be.
And I think that's such a beautiful thing that quarantine brought. Like,
I think so.
Because a lot of people are like, so for like Good Life, I don't know like what they did, but like a lot of the gyms I follow or I'm friends with, they all did Zoom classes.
Yeah.
I don't know for Good Life, if you're just a member of Good Life, did you had like Zoom classes with like a peg deck or something?
I don't think so.
I don't think so, right? Because it's very like commercial.
I'm gonna go ahead and assume that they probably didn't have peg deck classes on Zoom.
I don't know, but you know what I mean?
Imagine that would have been quite the sell.
But like, you know what I mean? Like, so gyms innovated in a way, to understand like, cool. Like we gotta build our community, and
it was like forced innovation.
Yeah,
but yeah,
like, hey, Zach, you know what? You gotta close for 4 months. By the way, we're not giving you any tips. Figure it out, homie.
Yeah,
and that's why we're doing this. That's why we did like IGTV lives to get information to people, and that's why you did like online Zoom classes. So you took all that forced innovation, and you're like, okay, cool. Now I got a way to like will in people, because they know when or if we do go on a second wave quarantine life. Mm-hmm. Or lockdown, or whatever you want to call it, you got your people covered.
Yeah, or at least there's some sense. I mean, not that anyone. I think we're all aware that everyone's over this shit. I think that's fairly,
especially here.
Everyone's agreed. Yeah, I think so, and I think not even just over like the whole COVID thing, but I think just over the fact that like people that are trying to stay fit are stuck inside doing Zoom classes, or like we're only allowed up to like 10 people at a park, so not everybody can join an outside class. I think people are sick of that shit. I think it's fair to say everyone's fed up. People understand it, and I think people are still willing to do what they need to do to be able to get through it. Some more than others, but it's gonna happen. You know, like people are still willing to do it, but we're over it. But at the same time, it's like, well, now it's like if we go onto another lockdown or another quarantine, what I feel like is gonna happen anyways is like we're at even higher risk now because people are at even like their immune system's probably even weaker than it was before. So the people that might have been like kind of on that cusp of like really being at risk are probably at risk now. If you think of like stress levels have gone up, not just because of financials, but just like not everyone likes being stuck in the house with their family 24/7.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like I live alone and it's nice, but I like being alone. If I lived alone and I was somebody who like enjoys company or I enjoy hosting or I enjoy having people over, I'd be losing my shit. Right? But I was lucky enough to be able to be alone and live alone and be happy being alone. And I got, I was lucky enough, I was fortunate enough to be able to go see my daughter. That was really all I really gave a shit about. Everything else, I was like, I could still train. I was lucky in that sense or fortunate in that sense. But like a lot of people, their mental health is already lower. Their stress levels are way higher. They're not eating as well because they're out of routine, which is huge for diet and huge for just nutrition and being active. And they're not as active because they've been locked out of their gyms or they've been doing these like half-ass home workouts half the time.
Yeah.
So we're probably at even bigger risk of an even bigger like health crisis on the second wave than we were on the first one. So it's hard to know, like, did we do the right thing? I don't know. Time will tell. Like when we have more info, obviously we'll have a better idea as to whether or not this was like the right decision. But it's like, if we lock everything down again and people get even more unhealthy, what happens after? You know what I mean? Do we stay, like, are we going to stay unhealthy forever and just like as a population just get less and less healthy and then become more and more at risk and then we have to lock down even more? Like I honestly I don't know. I don't know what the answer is.
And I think that's beauty, like that you got forced innovation and you got a podcast now, you're starting a podcast. So now you could ask those questions to people and be like, hey, you got a doctor in here? And you're like, hey, yo, homie.
Call at me.
Homie, I need information on COVID. What the fuck is going on? Because like, think about it, man. We're the civilization that has the most information. But yet again, we're satisfied with like Googling some sort of information, not looking up.
Read the first page title and then just be like,
okay, cool. I'm just going to read the abstract and the conclusion and be like, okay, cool.
I'm now educated.
Yay. No, there's like the paper and how they collected the data. But like we're the most information. Go get the information.
But with a lot of information also comes a lot of bullshit. And it's hard to figure out what is bullshit and what isn't.
Right? But like think about like
especially with something so new.
Yes. Right? Like something so new, you gotta learn how to play with it. Like if you buy something new, if you buy a brand new car, you cannot put it in like gear 7. Is there a gear 7? I don't drive manual, but like,
dude, I drive a Hyundai. Don't ask me about gears, man.
Okay, so you put it in gear. You cannot rev the engine in gear 1. Like you got to go slowly and progress through like the last gear.
I'm gonna pretend like I know what we're talking about in terms of car, but I'm following your analogy here.
But like, so something new that happened. Okay, cool. Thanos happened. Snap.
Yeah.
Okay, life changes. Okay, we gotta understand like we cannot make uneducated decisions super fast. We gotta understand there's proper education. Like, hey, did going on lockdown probably helped us? 100% probably.
I think for most fitness places, it was probably the only move that we could do.
Yeah.
For most of us. And it was probably something that like kind of, Joe's telling me there's 7 gears on sports car. Well, you know what? Now you know about cars too, Joe. Is there anything else? Anything else you got talents in that you didn't want to tell us about? But like,
Joe dropping.
God damn it, Joe.
There is or there isn't? There is? Oh, wow, cool. I had no clue.
Yeah. But
I thought it was only 6. That's why. Or 4.
I've never had a sports car either, though, so that's probably why I wouldn't know.
I've been driving automatic because that's just easy.
Damn, dude. Don't ask me to shift gears. I'm not your guy. I'm not your guy.
Just thinking about it, I got like cold sweats.
Just like, guys, I'm getting nervous here. Right? We're gonna have to change the subject.
But like, I mean, like, okay, so we did. It probably helped for like the entirety of the world. Like, okay, put stuff on lockdown and let's educate ourselves. But at the same time, the amount of bullshit that was on the internet and like it just had a hard time filtering the proper information.
Yeah, and I think it's like that with anything health related, let alone something like this magnitude, where it's like, don't worry, like it's always easier if we look back on it now and we're like, well, like shitty as it sounds, it's like some people will be like, well, not that many people died, not that many people got sick, and it's like, is that because we did what we did? And if we wouldn't have done what we did, would it have been way worse? we don't know. We don't know yet.
Yeah.
But it's easier to look back on it now at like the initial wave and just like kind of make assumptions and stuff. But I think when we hit that second wave, I think that's when we're going to hopefully start getting more information to be able to really make more educated decisions moving forward. So if it's like, if we have to quarantine people that are at risk, quarantine people at risk, you know, nobody reasonable is saying like kill all the weak. Like no one is saying let them like, you know,
we're
if
not
they die, they die. But it's just, you know, keep those people safe. But if we have further understanding, if, you know, we start to realize that like, hey, if you're healthy, if you're active, if you're eating healthy, which I think is a big part that most people aren't really talking about, is like, what's your nutrition like? What's your lifestyle like? Is how much of an impact does that have on your risk of catching this? And then actually going to a point where you're now high risk of like potentially dying or getting very ill from this. We don't have all that info yet, or at least not that I've seen. I could be off, but like,
well, think about just like the fact of like filtering information. Like, all right, like just before quarantine like happened, right? If you had a problem with your car, you're going to see a mechanic, right?
Yeah,
very simple. You have a problem with the lecture you've learned, you're going to see the prof, right? It was very direct. Yeah. But if you have a problem with health, you were going to see a doctor. If you had a problem with like a joint, like, you know, but then nutrition, you were going on like Reddit or whatever.
Bodybuilding.com.
Yeah.
How to lose 7 pounds in 7 days.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like
and then gain 20.
Read, understand what's the problem, find the person that's going to help you. Right? There's a trainer that does macro counting or whatever it is, like nutrition coaching. Find that person that's going to help you. Right?
Yeah.
So that's number one. Like, we got to be able to like filter the information where the source is. Okay? That's number one.
And find people that know what they're talking about to be able to educate people that might not know what they're talking about or have less information on it. Right?
Yeah. And then the second thing I wanted to say, it's like, cool. We went on quarantine. We understand now that like, you gotta clean your fucking hands. Like, what is it like? People weren't cleaning their hands.
Yeah. No more peeing and then just shaking it off. And
you know what I mean? Like, no more.
Ladies, I hope you weren't doing that originally, but like, guys, I know some of us were. I'm not gonna lie. We've all done the little.
When you're at a party,
give it a little hip swivel and then like move on with your day. It's just like, that's not okay anymore.
When you're at a party in the bush and you're like, oh man, I can't.
You're just kind of like, it's clean.
But like now it's super important, right? Like we got educated on like understanding like proper like self hygiene.
Yeah.
Like wash your hands. If you're sick, don't go out. And educated people on like, the flu virus itself, like where the flu virus is and what do we base our stats and like what do we base our vaccine? Because like first of all, to have a proper vaccine or have proper collection of data on like a vaccine, and you need at least 75% of the society or the population.
Is that what it is?
Could be roughly.
Okay. I haven't looked into that, so I'm
like 70 plus.
I'm trusting you on this one because that's not something I.
Okay, so first off, like North America is basing their flu vaccine on what happened in Australia because they're having their
So it's like we're time traveling and trying to make a vaccine off of that.
Of their numbers. So because there's so many strain of the viruses of the flu virus. So now we're making a virus and like hoping it's the right one.
Gotcha.
But like, okay, cool. But how many people are taking their flu virus, like their flu vaccine every year? Less than 5%. So how can we say like that flu vaccine actually worked?
I see what you're saying. It's like, so what you're saying is that you don't think it's like a big enough sample size
exactly
to actually really be able to get some concrete info on like if it's working or if it's
exactly
not.
So like I think like as much as it's sucking, I feel very sorry for people that like had some issues with the COVID-19. If you got touched by it, I'm super sorry. But like now that like we've learned from that like quarantine life, we're like, okay, cool. Educate yourself on like the subject. Take your vaccine if you need to. Like if you do believe in whatever you believe, like do whatever you want. But like, I mean, it's very important now that we understand like, okay, flu could hit and could hit hard. So now we got to probably prepare for it better.
Yeah.
And if we don't prepare for it, like, okay, maybe it hit harder.
Yeah. And I think
then stay healthy, like to a like level of activity.
Yeah, and I think like to me that's the only thing that like I wish they would talk more of in terms of like for like especially for like mainstream media. And it's just I wish there was more research being done on it or more at least like some kind of experimenting. I was like, healthy people that are active, eating proper, like they're not malnutrition or they're being properly hydrated or how much of an impact does that have on staying healthy? Like from what I've seen, there's nothing on that. We have people that get sick. We know how many people got sick or roughly how many people got sick. You know, there might be some swaying in like one direction or the other, but we have a fairly good idea as to like how many people are getting sick, how many people died from this. Again, numbers might be off because, you know, there's obviously some people are going to say like, or, you know, they're claiming some things as like COVID deaths if it's like kind of like an unknown, you know, unknown cause for something related to like breathing or like any type of like lung type of issues from what I've gathered. But it's like we don't have any real info on like, hey, all these healthy people that were eating right and like not eating McDonald's every day, yeah, they're actually turning out really well, and it actually increases your chances of not just catching this and surviving, but potentially catching it and doing fine, or just not catching it at all. Like we don't know yet, right? And I just wish that there was more info on that, because then instead of it might give us a better idea. So like instead of shutting everything down, maybe we should actually be paying people to show up to gyms and show up to like eat better and have better food and stop buying like, you know, like as much as, look, don't get me wrong, I loved Lucky Charms when I was younger. It was my go-to, but like I don't think eating Lucky Charms for breakfast and then like having your McDonald's for lunch is helping you stay healthier in this, you know, time of like, you know, giant pandemic.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think like there's a lot of great lessons that people are actually learning from it.
Yeah.
And we got to stay like, I'm a very positive person, so like we got to stay on the positive side of things. But like, okay, cool. Now like we know what we fucked up at. Now let's understand like what. Okay, so now we understand the negative. Okay, cool. How can we change all that negative that was like from either like malnutrition or like lack of activity, lack of education? Okay, how can we take that and educate people on like proper information and mainstream media? Like, okay, cool. Now understand like what's in a McDouble.
Yeah.
What's in
being more like transparent in terms of that kind of stuff. Yeah, because I know like they do like the whole calorie count on like their menus now, but it's like, come on.
Are you actually taking the fucking time to read this?
Not only that, but like that tells you nothing.
Also, you don't have an idea of like what's the ingredient of that. Oh, it could be a cow.
Yeah. Yeah. How much of it is cow though?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, it's made with 100% real beef. It's like, yeah, but that's 5% of your patties.
Yeah.
It's like, that's not full beef.
Yeah, no, not at all.
That is not full beef.
So, you know, I think it's like we gotta like a bit more like being more like skeptical about the information we're getting instead of like taking it and like follow the sheep. Like
asking questions.
Like the number of times like in school I was asking questions and I was like, I got kicked out of certain classes because I was I was asking too much question, or like,
man,
they don't not listening to
opposites in school, buddy.
I was just like, oh, I got a question. Ma'am, I got a question. And
you're too thirsty for knowledge, Pat. We're gonna have to send you out in the hallway.
Sorry, Pat. Don't come back. Damn. And then, so like, some teachers were getting frustrated because I was asking so much question, or like being like counter, like having the other side of the idea.
Okay.
Like,
so you like playing devil's advocate sometimes, or you would just, maybe not necessarily devil's advocate, but you would like try to question and push against those ideas.
Like in class, we had the Valsalva maneuver. People like in class they said it's a bad thing. I'm like, bull fucking shit. Like, okay, to an extent, Valsalva maneuver. So Valsalva maneuver is basically tightening your core. Okay, like bracing. Yeah, and that's the important thing. Not sucking in, but the actual bracing of it. Get ready for impact.
Which is essentially kind of what happens when you like cough.
Yeah.
Or laugh very aggressively.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Oh, Valsalva maneuver. It's you could have like a cough and like could give you proper information on the spine and like some orthopedic testing. But like also it protects your fucking spine from snapping if you squat.
And I think everyone can agree that that's a very, very good thing, is to protect your spine.
Yeah.
We don't want unprotected spines.
Right? No, exactly.
There's two things we don't want unprotected. All right, that's spines and sex.
Yes.
I mean, like sometimes.
When the time matters.
Edit that out.
No, then keep it in. Keep it in.
Yeah, shut down after episode 1. But
like, so like those are stuff like you got to question all the time. Like, and if you don't ask your question. Like, there's so much lack of education right now. Like,
and there's also a lot of times where there isn't just a black and a white answer of like, is Valsalva maneuver good or bad? Like in that case, it's like yes or no. It's like, well, maybe sometimes it's actually really fucking good, and then other times maybe you would be best with another type of technique to help with that bracing, which we see in gymnastics all the time. We do hollowing out all the time. We don't do Valsalvas all the time. We pull in. We think long and tall because it helps with rotations. It helps there's a bunch of different elements to it, right? But it's totally opposite of like a weightlifter trying to squat heavy.
Yeah.
I would never tell a weightlifter like, yo, bro, like when you back squat, like make sure to hollow. Like ever. Okay? Like
stay tall, my man. You know?
Like suck that in. Like it's not happening.
You gotta squeeze in that door, my man.
Flatten out that lower back, bro. Make sure you really press into the floor with it. Like that's not the same cues. You know what I mean? We want to try to stay a little bit more neutral when we're doing some squats as much as possible, right? Like then
we could go on the detail of like
biomechanics. It's a whole other thing, but
it's super important that like people like need to question the information they're getting. Like per se, like I love that because like per se, like tennis elbow. We've been talking about tennis elbows a lot. Like, is it because you're overusing the extensors, or is it because your flexors are too tight or like too weak? We don't know, but some sort of person in the world said, you do that test, and then tennis elbow, it's an overuse injury, homie. Overuse injury, like we gotta understand what's an overuse injury.
Yeah, and we can't just blanket every injury or chronic injury with like, it's overuse. It's overuse. It's overuse. It's like, well, like I mean, we talked about I had tennis elbow for like a long ass time, and I was trying to do all this shit, like extensive work. I was doing mobility work. I was doing all this shit. You know what fixed it? And I feel like 10 times better now than I did even let's say like 2 months ago. I started doing more wrist curls and bicep curls. Because I never had really done like isolated bicep work. I did a lot of pull-ups and a lot of work with that, but I never really did just like straight up dumbbell curls. I started throwing in just really slow, like, slow eccentric sets of like wrist curls and bicep curls. My form never felt better. But it's like all this time, it's like I was overcomplicating. It's got to be an overuse, so I got to rest it. I got to work on my extensors. I got to work. Yeah, I got to work on like my mobility. Maybe I got to work on like. It was like, no, bro, just do some fucking curls. Problem solved. It was like I was overcomplicating it. Way more because again, it's like you have all these ideas of like, well, it's an overuse injury. It's an overuse injury. It's like I actually started using them more and I got better.
Yeah.
Right. I just needed to strengthen them, and I needed to strengthen like a little bit of brachials. But then I was like,
cool. Homie, like now we can play.
And I like feeling vascular again.
Oh man, that vein popping out of your ears.
I like that pump. I'm not gonna lie, I missed it. Missed it a little bit.
Good, that's but like it's like we're in a society of like, we're okay with the status quo. No, like question it, understand it, and then dish it out. Because someone else, like right now, like for you had that problem.
You're a hipster of ideas, man.
All the time.
I love it.
Have you seen my hat I was wearing today?
I didn't see it.
It's right there. It's a cycling hat. Joe with the assist.
Look at that. I just want to.
You could wear it if you want.
Oh man, I tried that.
Look at this, man.
That's a beauty. And you did rock you rocked the fanny pack for a bit. Which
that too.
I am actually looking to get one right now.
I got the belly button.
You actually motivated me to get a fanny pack.
Yes, I'm gonna hook you up.
Yeah, could you?
Yeah, I'm gonna hook you up. It's the key. The key to fanny packs is.
I love how I was talking about this. I think I might have talked to Joe about it the other day, but it was like back maybe 2 years ago. It was like you had to go to a parking lot late at night to like get some weed because that was illegal, and like now it's like people are like going to parking lots and like, yo, you want that fitness? you want some of them reps? Like, and it's just like you got to go meet your trainer in a parking lot late at night so that you can like work out without being like, having the police called on you for breaking like quarantine rules. It's crazy. Like, that is crazy.
In caps, underlined, highlighted. CRAZY times 2.
It's
2
weird,
Y's.
Times are strange.
Times are strange. Because now you can
try to make it work, man. But like, it's weird. I'm not gonna lie.
Parking lot fitness.
It's like I'm a bad boy now. Is that what just happened? Like
I'm trying to make people fitter.
Yeah. It's like,
and it's funny because like you're like, well, man, that dude was selling weed over here, but now he's doing my fitness class.
It's weird
because like he can't sell weed anymore because JT
he's
has
a dispensary, but like good for him.
Yeah, start from the bottom.
It's weird times, man.
Yeah,
but I think you got a client soon.
Yeah, I got to head out soon.
Okay, well, I think we have a lot of more shit that we could talk about, so I'd love to have you back.
So I'm super pumped to like being on your first episode, man. I think it's really cool.
It was just perfect. It was like we had been doing our Instagram lives for like whole quarantine. You know what I mean?
I think we were really good at that.
We were pretty consistent with it too. Yeah. God damn, we were like, I think we couldn't always hit every Tuesday, but I think we did like every week. So
every week,
we were killing it. But yeah, man, I just want to thank you for coming. Like this has been awesome, and I'm glad you got to be our first. You were my first.
Oh, I take that.
I had my first with a big strong boy. You know? I'm gonna tell all my friends. But
Send him over. Okay, Patrick Boileau, massage therapy.
Yeah. Go ahead. I want you to plug it in, man.
So I'm basically a massage therapist. I got my own practice inside of True North CrossFit and True North Physiotherapy, working with the girls over there, and it's been awesome. So thank you. And then that's pretty much what I do. I do also personal training.
Yeah, so anyone who's looking for some weightlifting advice or coaching, you know where to go. And that's the whole point with what we're trying to do with this podcast now is we just want people in Sudbury to be more educated, not just in terms of health and fitness, but also the resources that they have. And I think a lot of people don't realize how many great coaches and, just not even just coaches, but just people involved in the health and fitness community. There are so many amazing people in this city that are just, I think are undervalued. I would agree with that. I think now hopefully we kind of boosted your value.
Oh man, thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you so much, my man.
Thanks, brother.
It was a blast.
We'll do it again.
Out.